Oh my God, I traveled thousands of miles from Hunan to Shenyang to seek out my little brother, only to end up enlisting and going to Taiwan. Now, my family is scattered. I shouldn't have left my wife and child. Oh God, when will our family be reunited? What should I do? What should I do?
Today, the main character of my story is the person we call Uncle. He is 2 years older than my father. He is tall, looks refined, doesn't talk much, and has particularly white teeth. He was my father's neighbor in his hometown in Hunan, and they were playmates from childhood. In 1948, during the Second Chinese Civil War, chaos and hardship prevailed, and people were in dire straits. 31-year-old Uncle found life difficult in his hometown and faced the constant risk of being conscripted. He heard that his childhood friend had joined the Kuomintang army and was stationed in Shenyang, northeast China. Although he had a wife and a 5-year-old son at the time, he thought, why not follow his friend and enlist? Thus, a single thought drastically changed his life's path. To avoid being stopped by his family, he left home alone in the middle of the night while his wife and child were asleep, without telling anyone, and headed to the northeast. Little did he know, this departure would be a final farewell. Uncle's real name was Chen Yuan, born in 1917 in Luoyang County, Hunan Province. This place has distinct seasons. In spring, the hills are covered with rapeseed flowers. In summer, the ponds are filled with the sounds of frogs among the lotus flowers. In autumn, the rice fields turn golden, and in winter, you can see children having snowball fights on the hillsides. Uncle grew up in this environment. His father was a local farmer, and his mother managed the household. He often helped in the fields. Although the family wasn't wealthy, they lived decently. Uncle was smart and clever from a young age and especially liked learning calligraphy from the adults. The walls of the old house were covered with his calligraphy, some imitating famous masters and some his creations. His mother always praised him. By 1942, at 25, Uncle was a well-known calligrapher in the village. That spring, he had a significant life event, marrying a gentle and beautiful girl from the village. Their wedding was simple but lively, with all the villagers coming to celebrate, drinking homemade rice wine, and singing mountain songs. Not long after the wedding, they had a son. When the child was born, Uncle was overjoyed and invited every household in the village to come for a celebratory drink. Looking at his wife and son, he was full of hope and happiness for the future, feeling that life was like the steaming celebratory wine before him, full of promise and joy. However, as the war began, life became increasingly difficult. In 1948, upon hearing that my father had been promoted in Shenyang and was doing well, Uncle impulsively went to Shenyang to find him without informing his wife. When my father saw him, it was too late to stop him, so he temporarily introduced him to the army to learn. Soon after, the troops retreated to Taiwan. After arriving in Taiwan, Uncle stayed with the army until retirement. During festivals, he would join our family celebrations with other brothers of my father. As a child, I thought he was my father's real brother because we called him Uncle. Uncle treated us like his own family and loved us dearly. Later, I found out he had a different last name from my father. I never saw him go on blind dates, though my mother encouraged him several times, to which he only shook his head. In the early years, he held on to the hope of retaking the mainland and reuniting with his family. As time passed, this hope faded. Uncle's calligraphy was beautiful. In the army, his neat handwriting earned him the appreciation and trust of his superiors. Once, when the army needed an urgent notice, the superior specifically asked Uncle to write it. He meticulously wrote it under the lamp, working through the night to finish the important document, receiving high praise from his superiors. I remember in the 3rd grade of elementary school, Uncle took me shopping for clothes. The store clerk complimented me, calling me cute. Uncle, suddenly excited, told the clerk that I was his niece and then praised me, saying I was smart and good at my studies. The clerk agreed enthusiastically. Uncle, in his excitement, bought me 2 new dresses. There was a time when our family faced financial difficulties. Father sought Uncle's financial help but returned dejected, saying Uncle refused, claiming he could only help in emergencies, not in poverty. Father was very disappointed. After that, Uncle cut off contact with us and stopped coming during festivals until I was in the 3rd year of high school. One day, Father heard from Uncle Yu in Taichung that Uncle had retired and was sick but was too ashamed to see Father. Upon hearing this, Father rushed to Taichung overnight and brought Uncle, penniless and ill, back home. Father said to Uncle, "Don't worry, whatever I eat, you eat. I won't let you go hungry." Thus, Father added a bed in the kitchen and invited Uncle to stay. Uncle, with nothing to do, drank all day. The whole family tolerated him, especially my elder brother, who was very good to him. My brother often sat at the dining table, drinking with Uncle and listening to his endless complaints. As the university entrance exam approached, I stayed in my room studying. One day, Uncle drank too much and muttered to himself for half a day. Suddenly, he raised his voice and yelled, "Who do you think you are? Looking down on me? I bought you clothes when you were a child." I knew he was targeting me, which I hadn't expected. Why was he yelling at me? Just because I was busy preparing for exams and couldn't chat with him? I was full of grievances and didn't know how to comfort him, so I cried secretly. Uncle had always loved us children and never yelled at anyone, showing how much frustration he had accumulated inside. Father couldn't bear to see Uncle so wasted, especially since Uncle wasn't even 55 yet. Father hoped he would regain hope and vitality. So, he helped Uncle open a small clinic in the countryside near Tainan, using his medical skills to treat the villagers. Uncle was quite happy practicing medicine and made many friends among the villagers and patients. Although he occasionally drank a little, he no longer got drunk daily. Once, Uncle met an old soldier friend on the street. They hadn't seen each other for a long time and had a great time catching up. The friend was struggling financially, so Uncle immediately invited him to help at the clinic, providing him with stable work and income. The friend was moved to tears. During his time running the clinic, Uncle often treated poor families for free and frequently used his savings to help those in need. His kindness and medical skills earned him the villagers' respect, allowing him to find value and belonging in this land. Uncle ran the clinic for several years peacefully, with Father and my brother often visiting him. At the end of 1987, the Taiwan government opened visits to the mainland, but Uncle passed away before he could see this happen. My brother, acting as his son, handled all his funeral arrangements. Compared to Uncle Zhu, Uncle was fortunate because he had us, especially Father and my brother, who treated him very well. Though Uncle's life was full of ups and downs, he found familial love and belonging with us, which was his final comfort. As for Father's other brothers, such as Uncle Ji, Uncle Yang, Uncle Yu, and Uncle Tu, they all had happy marriages and children and each ran their medical clinics. I realized these brothers, including Uncle Zhu, Uncle Chen, and Father, were all from Hunan and were military doctors. I once asked Father why there were so many veterans from Hunan in Taiwan. Father explained that Hunan was a significant base for the Kuomintang, which conducted recruitment and military deployments in Hunan during the Civil War. With a large population, Hunan provided many soldiers for the Kuomintang. I also asked why many of these Hunan veterans were military doctors. Father said that during the Civil War, there was a high demand for military doctors. The nationalist government set up many military medical schools in the rear to train numerous military doctors and supported battlefield medical policies. As the army retreated, the military doctors naturally came to Taiwan. Uncle's story is not just a personal legend but also a reflection of an era. In those turbulent times, many paid a heavy price for their ideals and survival. Nowadays, the number of these old soldiers still alive is very few. Those who enlisted at 20 are now almost 100 years old, and their numbers are decreasing annually due to age and health issues, now down to just a few thousand. Many of these veterans, to make a living, still sell homemade buns and pastries on the streets. They have endured long and arduous years, and their stories have become a part of Taiwan's history. Growing up in a veteran family, I was exposed to many veterans from a young age. As time passes, these veteran stories are gradually forgotten. I hope to write about the stories of the few veterans I know, at least to ensure that these stories become a testament to the existence of those who fought for their country and people. Although Uncle's life had its regrets, in our hearts, he will always be a respected and cherished elder. My story of the veterans ends here. I hope you enjoyed these stories. Please like, subscribe, and share. See you next time.